Arrested for a DUI? Did your night out with friends turn into a morning wake-up call in a jail cell? Here in Indiana, we have what's called OVWI, operating a vehicle while intoxicated. Other states will use terms such as OWI, operating while intoxicated, DUI, driving under the influence. For the purposes of all of this, they're all exactly the same. DUI, OVWI, OWI, all three of those terms mean the exact same thing. It means basically you're operating a vehicle while you are under the influence of alcohol or some other type of drug. And I'll get to that here in a second. But here in Indiana, the legal limit of alcohol is 0.08. So that can fluctuate a little bit depending upon certain factors. Number one, if you're a CDL driver driving a CDL truck, the legal limit is actually 0.04. You can get in trouble at 0.04 if you're a CDL driver operating your CDL vehicle. If you're under the age of 21, so you're a minor, not able to consume alcohol, it's actually zero tolerance. So you can get in trouble at 0.02 for a DUI if you are under 21. Now, one of the common questions that we get here at this law firm is, hey, what if I'm on prescription medication? Or what if I dabble in some illicit drugs, whether that be marijuana or other hard stuff? Can I still get a DUI? Can an officer still pull me over, put me in jail? The answer is absolutely. You can still get a DUI in the state of Indiana if you are taking prescription medication or if you are under the influence of some other type of illicit drug. So those become a lot more difficult for the state of Indiana to prove, especially if it becomes prescription medication, because what the state has to show is not only were you intoxicated, but you should have been operating a vehicle. So in the immediate aftermath of an arrest or a pullover, really from a DUI arrest, what happens is the officer is going to come up to your window, knock on the window, hey, license and registration, please. You have to provide that information to the police officer. You can't say, hey, I don't, what'd you pull me over for? You still have to provide your license and registration to the officer. At that point, the officer approaches, he's going to be looking for signs of impairment. Do you have bloodshot eyes? Does it smell like alcohol when you talk? In other words, is there an odor of alcoholic beverage coming from your breath? Are there open containers? Is your speech slurred? Is it thick tongue? Does it sound like something's going on to where he needs to investigate it more? And at that point, if he believes that you are under the influence of whether that be alcohol, prescription drug, other type of drug, they will try to do what's called the standard field sobriety test. That's the horizontal gaze nystagmus, follow my pen, the one leg stand, and then you got the walk and turn. Those are the three standard field sobriety tests used here in the state of Indiana. After that, an officer will likely issue a portable breath test. He'll go back to his police cruiser, pull out a little briefcase, little Pelican briefcase, open it up. There's going to be a little handheld device he's going to ask you to blow into. All that does is determine whether there's alcohol present on the breath at that moment. That number is completely irrelevant for the entire case because it is not admissible in court. It allows the officer kind of one more step in determining whether or not alcohol is present. Even if you blow zeros on that and the officer still has reason to believe you're intoxicated, whether that be because you're fumbling during the field sobriety test, whether that be because you sound like you're slurring your speech, or that you're laboring over your words, these are all signs of intoxication. Certainly, it could mean a million other things. Could be tired, could have worked a full day, 24 hours perhaps if you're a nurse, firefighter, or in a profession that requires longer hours. Late in the night explains bloodshot eyes too. So there are a lot of other things that can explain it, but these are also signs of intoxication or impairment, which would allow an officer probable cause to issue what's called a certified chemical test. In Indiana, there's two certified chemical tests. Number one, you have what's called the ECIR2 machine. That looks like the first fax machine ever built at a police station where they have you blow into a long tube multiple times. And at that point, they will be able to kick out a result as to whether or not that you are under the influence of alcohol. Now, the more common certified chemical test that officers are leaning to these days is the blood draw. Why? Well, because the ECIR2 is only designed to pick up alcohol. If the officer suspects that you are under some other substance, whether that be prescription medication or illicit drugs, or a combination of illicit drugs, prescription medication, or alcohol, kind of a little hodgepodge. If he has any suspicion that that may be the case, a blood draw is going to be the route in which they take. Now, with all that being said, before they issue you the chemical test, they're going to pull a card out of their little pocket. It's called the Indiana Implied Consent Card. They're going to read directly from that card. In essence, I have reason to believe that you operated a vehicle while you were intoxicated. As such, I must offer you a certified chemical test. I must, however, advise you that if you refuse a chemical test, it will be a 1-year driver's license suspension. If you have a prior refusal or a prior DUI, refusing a chemical test will result in a 2 your license suspension? Will you now submit to a chemical test? This is not the time to fight with the officer. This is not the time to tell the officer no. Any type of refusal in the state of Indiana is an automatic license suspension, whether it be 1 year or 2 years on your circumstance. We don't know. Again, if you have a prior refusal, it's a 2-year suspension. If it's the first time, you're looking at a 1-year license suspension. Do not create that havoc for you. Do not create that chaos. You want to absolutely, in the state of Indiana, submit to that chemical test. Easiest way for us to be able to try to keep you driving, because once that certified chemical test is done, and regardless of whether you refuse or not, they're still going to get a warrant for your blood. So no matter what, they're going to get a blood sample if they offer you a blood test or if they offer you a breath test. So the state's going to get whatever they need regardless of your yes or no response. However, you, if you find yourself in this situation, could potentially end up with some catastrophic license consequences by saying no or anything other than yes. So a refusal, for example, hey, can you repeat yourself? That's a refusal. Hey, I don't understand. That's a refusal. Not fair, I agree, but nonetheless, under the statute, anything but an unequivocal yes, I consent, is a refusal. So don't create the extra chaos and the extra worry of potentially not being able to drive for a year or two by harboring the investigation, by making it a little bit more difficult. Because at the very first hearing, the state of Indiana is going to be asking that your license be suspended. So is this a situation where if you refuse, in some counties, you can't even drive, period, on a refusal? There are some counties that will let you, some counties that won't, because the law has recently changed on that. If you consent to it, the odds of you being able to drive while this case is pending go up astronomically. Now, there are still some counties in Indiana that will not let you drive while a case is pending for whatever reason, but each county, each judge has the discretion as to whether or not a person drives while a DUI case is pending. So it is very important to get an attorney involved immediately. It's the number one question that we get at this law firm. Hey, do I really need an attorney for this DUI? First time I've ever been in trouble. Hey, I had a couple DUIs in the past. Is this something I really need an attorney for? The answer is yes. An attorney is going to be able to fight the intricacies of the DUI laws here in Indiana. Was the breath test calibrated and certified? Was it done correctly? Was the blood draw done according to protocol? These are all questions that an attorney experienced in DUIs are going to investigate for you. And here at the Marc Lopez Law Firm, we built our reputation on defending people charged with DUIs or OVWIs, OWIs, choose your fancy. So if you find yourself in this situation, it is very important to get an attorney involved. If you have any questions, give us a call at the office, 317-632-3642. And remember, always plead the fifth.